Hi guys, welcome back to another part of Android tutorial. In the previous part, we already see that how to use a time picker view in an activity. In that case, you can see that most of the space in that activity is actually used by the time picker view. So if you're using the time picker in a dialog window, it is much better than using a time picker directly in an activity. So in this part I am going to explain how to use the time picker in a dialog window. So here we create the time picker by writing some code segment, so there is no need to insert any code segment on the layout file. So go to the src folder, open the main activity.java file. First I create an integer variable for identifying the dialog box that is invoked. So here, for in order to identifying the dialog window, I have to create an integer variable static final int. I name it as dialog id. I initialize it as 0. Also getting current time, I declare two more variable called hour and minute. Okay, so whenever the activity is invoked, the onCreate method is automatically executed. So here we definitely call the appropriate function for displaying the time picker dialog window. So here I use the method called show dialog. You need to pass the ID corresponding to that dialog window. I think it is a deprecated method. Okay, now we have to override another method called onCreate dialog to uh, show the dialog time picker dialog window. So here I create that method protected. The return type is here dialog. Time picker dialog. Sorry, onCreate dialog. Here it will take one argument called the ID. So in order to check the value of this ID, I use a switch case statement here. Pass ID to the switch. If case is equal to this dialog ID, if the case is equal to the dialog ID, then we must return the time picker dialog. Return new time picker dialog. Here we have to pass the context. I give it as this. Here is a callback. Here is the callback. I give it as m times that listener. Here is the hour variable. I give it as hour. Here you need to pass the minute. Here it is in 24 hours format. I need it in 12-hour format. So here I just pass false. Okay, we need to declare this callback. So next we have to if the ID is not matching with the switch case statement, then it must return null. Now we have to declare the on time set listener method. That is for whenever the user set the time, then this method is invoked. So here I declare it private. Time picker dialog dot on time set listener em time set listener is equal to new TimePicker dialog dot on time set listener. It is actually an anonymous inner type. Okay, it is here there are three arguments are present. First one is the view component TimePicker view. Next one is the hour of the day. Second one is minute. Here already a variable called minute is present, so I change it as hour minute. Now I get the value of hour and minute. Hour is equal to hour of day, minute is equal to hour minute. Now I am going to display the set time using a toast dot make test. Get the base context here. Set time is hour and next is minute. Now I have to specify duration for the toast dot. I make it as long. Now make the toast visible using show method. Okay, we done all the coding of this segment. Once again I explain it. First of all, I just create an integer variable called the dialog ID. This variable is for identifying the appropriate dialog window. Next, for getting the current time, I declare another two integer variable hour and minute. So whenever the onCreate method, whenever the activity is firstly launched, the onCreate method is invoked. So in order to display the TimePicker dialog window on that activity, you need to call the appropriate method. Here the method is show dialog. Also I pass the ID. Whenever this method is invoked, the onCreate dialog method is automatically invoked. I compare the ID with the switch statement. Whenever the ID is equal to dialog ID, then it will return a TimePicker dialog window. Here there are three arguments. Four arguments are present. First one is the context. Second one is the caller. Again hour, minute. I given here it is as false because I need it in 12-hour format. So whenever the user click the button on present on the TimePicker dialog window, this method is invoked. The on time set listener method is invoked. In that method, I just get the value of hour and minute and display the set time using a toast. Okay, now this is the time to check the project. So here I am going to run it. Wait a little bit time for the application to launch on the emulator. Okay, you can see that the time picker is appear as a dialog window. The activity is actually paused at the backside of this dialog window. That means the activity is free from this much of space used by the time picker. So here I just change the date time to 1 a.m. 12:59 a.m. change it into p.m. and click done. You can see that the setter time is 12:59. Guys, this is how we using a time picker directly using a time picker dialog instead of directly uh, used in an activity. Please subscribe my channel for getting further video updates. Thank you for watching. See you in the next part of this tutorial.